Hi, I'm James McGuire, and today we're talking about artificial intelligence, perception versus reality. In other words, we think about AI as this wonderful thing that can do everything for us. It can boil an egg. It can give us competitive advantage in our business. On the other hand, we face this difficult reality of AI can be expensive. It can be problematic. There can be ethical concerns. So, there's two sides of the coin here. To discuss that, I'm joined by two people who know a lot about the topic. With me is Ya Xu, Vice President of Data Science for Infinia ML. Yeah, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having us here.
And yeah, where are you located today?
Durham, North Carolina.
Aha. Okay. So you were in the same place as James. All right. That's
Yes,
excellent. But
yes, same
also with us
office.
is James Kotecki, Vice President of Marketing and Communications at Infinia ML. Hello to you, James.
Hello, it's great to be here. And I think from the perspective of the Bay Area where you are, Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill, it's all exactly the same place. When we live here, we have all these internal rivalries and stuff. We think it's a big deal, but from the
Okay.
California perspective, it's the same dot on the map.
It's all the Research Triangle, which is a pretty hip and cool
Yeah,
area.
it
Right.
is. It's a great spot to be doing machine learning.
Well, I want to talk about that very topic. I also want to thank the people who are viewing and listening. Thank you so much for showing up on this Friday before a long Labor Day weekend. You get extra bonus points for that. And I want to say that we really welcome your comments and questions. You don't have to wait until the end. There is a Q&A button down there at the very bottom of the screen. You know where it is because we've been stuck at home with Zoom all these months. Click on that. Ask your question at any point. We welcome your comments. So AI and ML, let's get sort of a sense of the landscape out there. I mean, I talk with some executives who say, well, only about 4% of companies have a real AI project, that is really happening. Other people say it's closer to mainstream deployment. Surely there may be more ML deployments than truly AI. Of course, that's a whole nother discussion, how different they are. So I would say, yeah, what is your sense in terms of, level of deployment? Is AI, really mainstream, or are we still ahead of the curve here?
I think actually companies are using it. There are some well-known example like Tesla self-driving and Google Search, Apple's Siri, and all the other famous applications, right? Even just to talk about those less famous examples, like our company, Infinia, we've been in business for almost 3 years. We've done I would say, over 30 different projects, different application area, and different companies. So we've seen a lot. Actually, companies are using AI as a powerful tool to reduce their costs, to improve business efficiency, and creating real business value.
Well, what might be an example of how one of your customers is using it? Yeah, please.
It's for example, like one case we did, it's a text processing example. Like we are helping a legal service company to automatically extract the information from legal contracts to pull out the information like type and also time period and the parties and clause, all those information. Think it used to be their army of lawyers or lawyers assistants to extract all the information. We now computer can help you save a lot of labor costs.
Hmm. James, what's your sense? Is ML and artificial intelligence really still ahead of the curve, or is it truly being used out there in the real world?
I think Ya is exactly right, but there's also some nuance to this in that what does it mean to do AI and how do people define what it means to actually do it? There's some truth to that 4% metric as well. Whatever, I've heard different numbers, but it's always this very low, this paltry number of people that are actually doing AI and getting real business value from it. I think
Right.
there's probably a lot more people who are dabbling, who say they're doing AI, who throw the label of AI on it, because as a marketer, I can say this, from a marketing perspective, it's better to say that you're doing something sexy in AI than maybe something else. And it's just
Right.
kind of a term of the moment. And
Right.
also people that are doing a lot of things in AI and haven't figured out how to operationalize it, how to productionalize it, how to deploy it in a widespread way that's actually getting day-to-day value. It's not just creating a cool algorithm, which we can certainly do. It's getting all the way to people in your organization actually getting use from it, which involves a lot of things involving AI, and then a lot of steps after that that involve a lot of change management that's not as easy as writing an algorithm. So it's a long process that we're in the middle of now, a long transformation.
Well, I think it's really true that companies at this point want to be able to say we are using AI, and I think there's almost a desperate sense among executives like we need to get on this train one way or the other, even if they're not sure what they're doing. Because the train is leaving the station and they know they need to be on it. I would say let's try to give those folks some help to the extent that we can. So generally my question is, what advice would you give to get started? And I would narrow that question a little bit and say, you know, what is the data issues that executives need to solve, or at least understand before considering ML? Yeah, what is your advice on that?
So on data, it's, when you talk to a company, quite often people will say, oh, we have a lot of data. The thing
Sure.
is,
Right.
do you have the data that's informative to the task you are taking on? It's like quite often people say like, okay, data scientist's job is to find the needle in a hay, right? So we have to first make sure the needle is actually in the hay, which means they're actually signal. Otherwise,
Right.
you look at the hay, you search over, you're just wasting time, right?
So you've
So
got to
we,
sift through the entire hay bunch, right?
right.
Yeah.
So it's your data has to be informative, has to be relevant.
James, what's your sense? I mean, you're going to sift through the entire hay bunch, if that metaphor makes sense.
Yeah.
What are the data issues that an executive needs to make sure, you know, they've solved before they really launch into an ML project?
There's some rules of thumb here that are helpful. One is your data accessible? Is it even accessible to you? Now, the lowest barrier to entry is that, does it actually exist, right? Can you access it because it actually exists? But not only that, are you, the entity in your organization that wants to do AI, capable of getting the data from wherever else it is in your organization to where it ultimately needs to go? Can you even get access to that data? Because of technical or bureaucratic or legal reasons, maybe you're going to have some challenges. Another aspect is, of course, sizability. Do you have enough data points to actually train an algorithm? You know, I think this is one of the key misperceptions that people need to have shaken out of them when they first start to learn about AI is it's not just a matter of like, I can show my 3-year-old 3 pictures of a horse, and after that, she gets exactly what a horse is for any other picture she would ever see. For a similar mechanism with machine learning, you need to train it with obviously millions and millions of examples. And hey, if one of those horses happened to be upside down after seeing a million right side up horses, the machine still might not know that it was a horse, right? So you need a lot of data just to kind of train these things. There's a couple more, like, is it understandable? Is it understandable to your internal team? Do people actually know what this data says? So in other words, is there an expert in the house who can tell the data scientists what the different rows and columns mean? And when the data is labeled with this label that is, of course, mysterious to data scientists because they don't work in that specific domain, what that actually means. And if that's completely inscrutable, then the machine's not going to be able to somehow magically come up with that. So there's a few rules of thumb like this that can help executives to understand whether they're even ready to start this journey.